This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and this is that fancy pants new iPhone, you know, the one that starts at $1,000 and it has the notch. This is the iPhone 10. I've already done a pretty detailed first look review, but before I do a full review and come to my ultimate conclusions, I like to spend more time with this. And now I've had almost a week. I feel like I can do that, and we're going to look at it now. It's a crazy expensive phone, but this is the year of the crazy expensive high-end smartphone, starting with the Note 8. Given the adoption rate, which is the fancy word for saying folks are actually buying these expensive phones, I'm guessing that folks will decide they live their lives on their phones and they're going to be willing to spend the big bucks on them. And the carrier and Apple monthly payment plans with yearly upgrades built in does encourage you to go with the so-called best phone every year. Since we're in the era of the monthly payment plan and yearly upgrade promise, where the full retail price of the phone may mean less compared to the monthly payment fitting into your budget, really. The iPhone 10 is around $41 a month. The iPhone 8 Plus is around $35 a month. And a more price-palatable Android smartphone that's still pretty high-end is around $30 a month. Even for those of us who have to live on a budget, $10 a month more might be okay for something we really covet, value, and enjoy. Yeah. Sure, you could argue that the similarly sized and designed Samsung Galaxy S8 is significantly cheaper, but the feature set on the iPhone 10 competes more with the Note 8, and that's also quite expensive. Google's Pixel 2 phones are less money, but still pretty darn pricey, particularly the XL model that really doesn't add any features onto the base Pixel 2. It's just really bigger. But the iPhone 10 has two rear cameras, an advanced depth-sensing front camera with portrait mode, a Face ID system, plus wireless charging, unlike the Pixel 2 family. So there are justifications here if you're comparing high-end phones to high-end phones. One of those reasons to buy the high-end phone, I don't know. Animojis? No, just no. I don't think so. They're fun, they're cute. You know, I actually took a couple of days before I dove into those. I didn't think they were one of the more important features, but I guess they're kind of fun. On a bad note, it's breakable, boo, and it's glass front and back, right? I've talked about this in my other iPhone 10 videos. Same thing with the 8 and the 8 Plus. And also the Galaxy family currently. Once you got that much glass there, no matter which way you drop it, it's going to be a bad thing when it says hello to the concrete. So you're going to need a case. Blarg. Some cases, like this Quadabi Lucid Clear impact-resistant case, do let the phone's beauty shine through. And protect the phone too. It's sleek, it's minimalist, and it's affordable also. And speaking of that, Quadabi is the sponsor for this video. We'd like to thank them. That said, other than, well, the breakability of the phone, the hardware is finally there. It's finally on par with cutting-edge Android phones. You have your IP67 water resistance, wireless charging, and perhaps the biggest, that OLED edge-to-edge display in a relatively small body. I mean, this thing looks darn cool, and you don't look at a Samsung Galaxy S8 and say, I wish I had that OLED display anymore. The software is certainly there. iThing lovers are going to tell you that iOS, even if you find the grid of icons boring and all that sort of thing, is streamlined, it's fast, it's stable, it's secure, and you're going to get upgrades in a timely way. You know how it is, Android people. You know, less than 1% of phones are on Android 8 Oreo right now. So that's the iPerson's argument in favor of the software. What I was surprised at is I thought that it would take app developers some time to actually support the screen, and just in the first week, the adoption and the support has been really amazing from third-party apps. We're seeing more and more that use the full screen real estate. Now, in the land of iOS, and this is a selling point for iOS, app developers usually do move to support new hardware pretty quickly, but this has been really fast. And I also expected more bugs in general, just from Apple even, and it's really been pretty smooth stuff so far. Another thing I really didn't think I was going to like is gestures. Why is this? If somebody gives you a printed cheat sheet, and yes, there is one in the box of gestures that you should be using, it already seems too complicated because this is about muscle memory. And once you start doing it, you start to learn it. Let's face it, swiping in general is not always intuitive. Moving back and forth is. The multi-touch, all the other things we do, no, they're learned gestures. Face ID, the way we use that, is no more difficult really than using Touch ID. In fact, it's a whole lot better because it's the most natural thing ever. No more touching a special place on your phone. You just lift it up and boom. By the time it's looking at your face and you're looking at it, it's already unlocked. It's that fast. It works in low light situations even. Yep, I've used it in the bedroom at night to check something. And other than having to figure out which side is up on the phone, since we don't have that home button on the bottom anymore to signal that, it is fantastic. Like I said in my other videos, this is the future of biometrics on computing devices. When it works this well, when it works this fast, it's excellent. Now you twins and you very similar looking siblings, well, you're going to have to trust each other, because that's the one place where it can be fooled. But back to the gestures. At first I thought, ooh, no. And you know, I used to work as a user interface architect, so I'm kind of picky about these things, and most of them are actually pretty good. The only one that I don't like, and I didn't have memorized and down smoothly within a half a day of use, is the multitasking gesture. It's just not very easy, particularly if you want to use it to actually kill an application, to dismiss it completely. They could do better. They should do better. And as I've said before, they should not mess with the power button. The power button is very important and should be a single purpose thing, at least for turning on and off. And the fact that you can't turn it off just by pressing the power button is really a kind of user interface no-no. You have to use power and the volume up, but not hold them down so long as to start SOS mode and that siren screaming sound. The display is awesome sauce. If you don't believe me, visit DisplayMate.com. They're the ones that do the very detailed, technical, scientific, if you want to say it, unbiased reviews of various displays. They love the Galaxy Note 8 display. They were right to love it. They like the iPhone X display even better. You Galaxy people are going to get all cranky on me. You can just visit DisplayMate and see what they said. The reasons they liked it were it has higher average brightness. That means across the entire screen, that's 625 to 650 nits of brightness. The Note 8 can go over 1,000 nits, but that's only doing it in small selective areas of the screen to give the sense of brightness, but it's not as uniformly bright. The other reason that they liked it, because not everybody needs something that's searingly bright, it helps, but is because of the color accuracy. Apple really did a good job of tuning the display accurately. You're seeing the content as the creator meant it to be viewed. And for those of you who don't like the oversaturated colors, even AMOLED photo mode and all that sort of thing on Galaxy devices, it's pretty darn good. It also overcomes some of the usual OLED problems with icky color shifts when you turn the screen. There is a little color shift. They can't make it go away completely on this Samsung manufactured display, and Samsung makes the best OLED screens, but it's the least color shift that I have seen on an OLED display. There's going to be burn-in possible. This is what happens with all OLED displays. If you display the same static content for long periods of time, it could burn in on the display, which is why we still have the IPS alternatives in the 8 and 8 Plus. Now, OLED's improving and burn-in becomes less and less of an issue, but it's still a possibility. Also, Apple set the auto brightness to run lower on the iPhone X. So some people have said, oh my God, the iPhone X is not as bright as the iPhone 8. That is not true, but because OLED will burn in if you run it at high brightness more quickly, they've tuned it downward. So be sure to look at the settings on the phone to suit your taste. One thing that's not so pretty is the notch, the Band-Aid on the problem of having a full screen device that also has to have a place for sensors and cameras and all that sort of thing. It looks literally like a Band-Aid at the top of the screen. That part is not, hopefully, the future. I'm hoping they find a way around that, but other than adding bezel up top, I don't know how. When it comes to performance, it's the same CPU, this is the same RAM, same storage options as you'll get on the 8 family of phones, so you're not getting anything faster here. Right now, the Apple A11 so-called Bionic CPU kicks the butt of the Snapdragon 835, but we see this every year, year after year. Apple comes out with a new iPhone, it beats whatever the current high-end Android CPU is, and then by the time the iPhone is getting pretty old and they're about to release a new one, the Snapdragon is catching up or surpassing again. Honestly, these phones are faster than most of us know what to do with. I don't even think it matters anymore whose donkus is bigger. Now, for the camera, by now, you probably know the main camera is the same as on the other iPhone 8 models. There's a 12 megapixel main shooter there. They're excellent cameras, so there's a valid argument that the Pixel 2 cameras are even better. I would say that they are. And it's a pretty good horse race between Samsung and Apple. The Pixel 2 and the Note 8 are stronger in low light in my tests, but it's not by a huge margin. It's not like the iPhone X is terrible in low light, just a little bit more noise there. The iPhone X and the iPhone 8 Plus also pull ahead for having the best portrait mode. That's with the blurred backgrounds, and now they've added those cool portrait lighting effects, which really makes you feel like a pro. I mean, you can take some impressively good portraits using that feature. The Note 8 does have dual cameras and has a pretty nice portrait mode too. With that, I do like that you can use a slider after you've taken the picture to adjust the amount of background blur. That's pretty darn cool too. It's a close race there, but I think the portrait mode lighting modes that are available on the iPhone X and on the 8 Plus are just the bee's knees. The iPhone X does add optical image stabilization to the telephoto portrait lens, something that the 8 Plus doesn't have, and that really makes a difference for low light shots. Oftentimes, I want to take a pretty picture of the cat in portrait mode. And it's like, no, there's not enough light. You can't do that. That doesn't happen with the 10. So you're going to get clearer shots, and more shots are possible. It also adds portrait mode to the front camera. So if you're gorgeous looking, you're going to have a field day taking all sorts of beautiful portrait lighting effect photos of yourself. Perhaps even more importantly in the long run is the depth sensing camera on the front. This is pretty useful for AR applications. And just to use the example, there's an eyeglass app out there that helps you figure out which pair of eyeglasses is for you. And instead of just blindly slamming a JPEG onto a photo of you, it can now actually give a real 3D rendering where you're going to look like in a pair of glasses. It's really going to be interesting to see where this goes. In terms of battery life, you know by now, Apple has said that you're going to get 2 more hours of battery life compared to the iPhone 7. The 7 is the smaller phone, smaller battery. So yeah, it's true. It certainly is true, but I'm still not finding it runs as long as the 8 Plus. It's certainly closer to the 8 Plus than to the 8, but not quite as long. That said, it has respectable battery life. It holds up well against most flagships, unless you're talking the ones that cram 4,000 milliamp batteries into the body of the phone. It's pretty good. It does support wireless charging. It does support fast charging, but that means you got to spend more money because you need a USB-C charger, and you can use the 12-inch MacBook one, which is $50. Maybe your laptop has one, so you don't have to spend the money, and you need a USB-C to lightning cable to do it. Or you can do what I do. If you happen to have an iPad, use the iPad charger. It will charge it a lot more quickly. Maybe not as fast as fast charging, which is, remarkably fast, but about twice the rate of normal. So there you have it, the iPhone 10. Well, duh, pretty much every year it's the same story. Is it the best iPhone they've made yet? Yes, sure it is. Is it worth the price? Again, that gets back to what I said at the beginning. It really depends on how you pay for your phone. If you're one of those people who's doing the monthly contract things with yearly upgrades, if you can afford going from the $33 a month to the $41 a month, then yes, it is. Certainly there are other phones out there that are quite nice and cost a lot less money. But if you're an iPhone person, if you can afford it, I mean, this is certainly the best iPhone they've ever made. And this is the first time where I don't feel like they're lagging behind Android in terms of hardware. In fact, they've jumped ahead with things like Face ID and that front depth sensing camera. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos, and thumbs up if you like this vid.